Hi, friends. This is Taylor from Doomed to Fail. We're the podcast that brings you every week, we bring you 2 episodes of history's greatest failures and disasters. And this is episode 22, part 1. If you're new, just so you know, we did our first 26 episodes as two stories per episode, right? And then they got really long. So now we do it twice a week, one story per episode. So the first 26 episodes we're going to re-release as one-offs, and this is one of them. We're nearing the end. So this is terrible, but I'm not going to start over, so we're still going. Episode 22, part 1, was on Gypsy Rose Blanchard, and can I tell you how much stuff has changed between the time that we actually published this, actually almost exactly a year ago on May 29th, 2023, and now it is May 10th, 2024. Um, Gypsy Rose is out of jail. She got out of jail with a flourish, was married to a man who she is now divorced from, and now she's living this fabulous single life out in the world. So, lots of stuff changed since this episode aired, and you can definitely Google her to find out more. But here's the first part of, I'm sure, many, many parts to come of the story of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Enjoy.
In the matter of the people of the state of California versus Orenthal James Simpson, case number BA096.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Okay. If you're good to go, we're good to kick things off.
I'm good to go. Let's do it.
Cool. Wait, no, I'm not Fars. I am Fars.
Wow.
Welcome.
So far, so good.
I've been at brunches and drinking espresso martinis since like fucking 10 a.m. So like I'm having a hard time. Welcome to Doomed to Fail, the podcast where we explore 2 stories, one historical, one true crime, around red flaggy relationships that were doomed to fail. I'm Fars, joined here by Taylor. Hi, Taylor.
Hello.
There we go. We
I'm
got
here.
some pep. We got some pep in Taylor stuff. We're both a little out of it. Well, I'm a little out of it. Taylor's hosting a lot of people, and yeah, there's a lot going on in both of our lives at the moment. So
It's true. I'm sitting on the floor. I'm in my bedroom, but I felt uncomfortable sitting on the bed. So my computer's on the bed and I'm sitting on the floor.
yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
Are those trays? Just random trays behind you, or what is that?
Yes, because I do have a plan. So someday we're going to renovate this house and add like another room. And so I'll have to move my office. So when I move my office in this hypothetical situation in the far future, I want to do a dark blue wall with a mirror in the middle and then just like as many silver platters as I possibly can around it. So these are my first 3 silver platters.
So is there like some symbolism to that?
Nope. I just
Okay.
have dope style and I want to put it in my office.
You do have dope style. You do have
Yeah.
dope style. I think I might steal that from you now, actually, and
gonna be cool.
off with it.
Yeah.
Cool. So Taylor, I per usual am wondering who goes first. I think it's me.
I think it's you.
Okay, it is me. So why don't you share your drink, and then I'll share my drink and my story.
That's good. So this week we are drinking the blood of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Wow. Okay, man, you went all the way in.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So, whet your
We got some-
appetite for some dead guy blood.
We got some wine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no flesh, just the wine piece.
Yeah. You don't want to like dampen the buzz by eating too. We're just gonna drink.
It's true. It's true. So I told Taylor that it's been like a boozy Sunday for me. It like started with like brunch and having espresso martinis, and it just kept snowballing from there. So I'm just going to call out espresso martinis as being delicious. They're absolutely amazing.
They are.
One of the best drinks you can have in the morning. Not every morning, but like some
Yeah.
mornings.
Oh, a nice weekend vacation morning, long weekend morning. You're
right.
fine.
Exactly. So that would be my drink, and it has nothing to do with our story. Absolutely nothing to do with my story. But I did have rosé also this morning, like frosé, like frozen rosé. And the name of the person we're talking about today is Rose.
Oh, well, there you go.
It is Gypsy Rose.
Ooh.
Didn't see that one coming, did you?
I didn't see that one coming.
See, because it's so like different, right? It's
Yeah.
abuse between child and parent versus like a couple, which is like a very, very unique dynamic. So um
Mm-hmm.
the two parties here are going to be Gypsy Rose Blanchard and her mom Deedee. And I'm going to start right off the bat saying that I'm so thrilled that Deedee was just fucking stabbed to death and just gutted like a fish. Like that
I know
was somebody
that's
who
a
absolutely had to be
pattern.
killed.
Yes, no, she's the baddie, 100%.
Like if anything, I feel really bad that the people who killed her were punished at all. Like it's just like
Yeah.
it's so unjust to me. So you're aware of the story, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So let's get into the main characters. Like I mentioned, we are talking about a mother-daughter dynamic. The mother's name is going to be Deedee. The daughter's name is going to be Rose, or sorry, Gypsy. Gypsy Rose is what she's referred to. So Deedee was born. Her name was Claude. When she was born, her name was Claudine Petrie in 1967. She was raised in a pretty large family with 5 siblings. And generally speaking, the assessment is that she's kind of a shithead from birth. Like her family seemed to always dislike her. And apparently they later on suspected that she actually killed her own mother, although nobody could prove anything because why would you? Because everybody's dead, right? Dee ended up dying. Her mom ended up dying, so who cares? But long story short, yeah. Well, there's actually a lot more to like how Deedee's dynamic with her family plays out, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So Deedee later on ended up meeting a guy named Rod Blanchard when she was 24 and he was 17. I saw the guy. I saw interviews with him. Like he's like a normal dude. Like he's just like he's not what you would think of as like an average 56-year-old guy. Like he's actually like super put together. Like
Yeah.
he was definitely like Deedee definitely punched above her weight by hooking up with Rod is what I'm gonna say.
I totally agree. I feel like I gathered that from things as well. Like he was, yes.
Yeah, he was a good dude. And then obviously like in this situation, so she's 24, he's 17. Obviously it's like a one night stand situation where she gets knocked up. Rod is clearly trying to extricate him from the situation. So he leaves Deedee, obviously. And then shortly after the separation, Deedee gives birth to their child, Gypsy, who will become the other main character of today's story. So Deedee started being kind of a helicopter parent in the worst way almost immediately with Gypsy. So she was convinced early on that Gypsy had different issues. One of the main issues I heard was sleep apnea was one of the things that she kept saying, like, Gypsy has sleep apnea, so we have to take her to the hospital. And she would take her to the hospital and do overnight like testing with doctors all the time. Like it was like over the top level of like trying to fake. This is the part, Taylor, where like I don't actually know how I feel about this. Like, was the person crazy to begin with, or were they over the top parenting and then turned? I don't know what it is. I know that she turned crazy and insane eventually, but I don't know how. It started with like an infant being like they have sleep apnea. Like, what are you talking about? Like kids don't get sleep apnea, you know, like that's like for like old heavyweight or overweight people. Like, anyways, like my assessment was like she probably started out having some sort of psychological issues to begin with, and that's how it started.
The mom, Deedee.
Deedee, yeah. It's funny because I was thinking about this how little I take care of myself. So recently, Taylor, it's really funny because I started tasting like copper in my mouth constantly, and like I'd occasionally just like I would like be in the shower and I'd spit and there'd be like it would be pink, and I'm like, what is going on? Like it's like my body is like deteriorating before my eyes. Like it literally just started, and I'm like, how did this happen? But I'm gonna get it taken care of. I'm gonna take care of. But
what is that? What could it be?
So I read that it could be gum disease. But a gum disease is usually preceded by halitosis, and like I don't have bad breath. Like, well, the way you breathe breath right there.
No, you
like,
don't. But I just hope that you don't die. So I'm glad you should go to the doctor.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to the dentist. But like I was just thinking about it in the context of like this woman would pursue such insane medical care for her kid, And I'm just sitting here like, I don't know, my fucking gums are bleeding, my heart stops every 3 minutes, and I'm just like, whatever, I'll work it out whenever I work it out. She was like over the top obnoxious, so that, like, to the extent where like doctors would start telling people, other doctors, just like ignore her, like just don't deal with this and push her aside. So that's basically like how Dee kind of came across, just super overbearing, over the top, and yeah, she felt like she was doing the right thing as a mom, or she was crazy. I don't know. I don't know if it was doing the right thing as a mom or she was crazy. TBD. What do you think?
I think she was crazy. I think
Okay,
I think she just wanted the attention.
but with like a child, with like a baby.
I mean, it's like a literal psychological disease. The
Yeah.
Munchausen by proxy, like it's a thing. Like there's been other cases of it, you know.
So I researched that. It's actually called Munchausen syndrome by proxy.
Well, close. I just missed the word syndrome.
No, I know, because I'm telling you now, because earlier on in the later on in the outline, I wrote Munchausen by proxy syndrome, and then I got to the very end and I was like, let's research this disorder, and then I found out it's Munchausen syndrome by proxy, and then I changed the end but not the middle. So when I say it, I'm going to say it wrong,
Okay,
and
great.
just note that. So okay, going back to the story. So at one point in Gypsy's childhood, Deedee made her use a walker because she basically told her she had muscular dystrophy and that she required it to walk. And Gypsy, like, she does what, her name's so stupid that it makes me like, I feel bad saying this. It's like, oh, Gypsy, of course Gypsy believes her Gypsy soul, but it's like it's any kid,
Well,
right?
it's
Like
from
any kid.
that's from a movie.
Is it?
Gypsy Rose Lee is like a person.
Oh, okay. I learn something new every time. But like my point being, like, it's like a kid. Like any kid is gonna believe what their parents tell them, and Gypsy believed it. She believed that she had muscular dystrophy, and she would use a walker, and later on she would use a wheelchair as well. So going back to part of like how Deedee was trying to manipulate this situation, she started downplaying how old Gypsy was. So, for example, there were stories of when she was 8, or sorry, when she was 10, she would tell people that Gypsy was 8. When Gypsy was 18, she would tell people that Gypsy was 14. There's no consistency in terms of the age differential, but she would constantly change this age because she wanted her to seem younger and more ill, and all, it's all the
Right.
grossness, basically.
Oh my God.
Suffice to say, it seems obvious, but Gypsy was homeschooled, obviously, which just gave all the control to the mom. In one bit of interesting trivia I learned, I also literally just downloaded the Harry Potter game, so it's like it's awesome and it relates to this as well, is that Gypsy only learned, despite the fact that she was doing homeschool lessons, she only learned how to read because she taught herself so she could read Harry Potter books.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this kid taught it herself how to read, and literally Harry Potter was the reason why. And also the video game is fantastic. Hogwarts Legacy, if you don't have it, go download it.
We talked about it before.
Yes, I'm sure we have. So ultimately, Deedee would fall in hard times and move in with her father and her stepmother. She really, really apparently disliked her stepmom, and apparently that was a mutual feeling all around. It was suspected that she was actually poisoning her stepmom with weed killer. It's crazy.
Deedee was?
Deedee was her stepmom, and later on, I'm gonna get to this. Like they moved away, they moved into their own house after this, and then immediately the stepmom got well. Like she was sick, she would always be sick, horrible circumstances, and then Deedee and Gypsy leave, and all of a sudden she's fine, and everybody's like, "Yep, she was poisoning her." Is basically the assessment they come to. So assume she killed her mom, assume she poisoned her stepmom, and she did what we know she did to Gypsy. That's who Deedee was. One thing that was interesting was that her parents also thought the way she treated Gypsy was really messed up, and they would constantly confront her on it and be like, "This isn't normal. Like, it's clear she can walk on her own. Like, she would like stand up. Like, she would like do her own thing." And she's like, "No, she needs a walker. She has to be in a wheelchair." And it's like, "No, she doesn't. Like, we can see what she's doing. Like, she's totally fine."
So weird.
And so, yeah, and that was part of the divide that resulted in Gypsy and Deedee leaving the house and moving to a part of New Orleans, which is where the story kind of picks up around like when Katrina was going to hit, which was like a big part of this. Actually, I'm gonna talk about that a little bit. So I kind of going to talk shit a little bit, like, because I feel like Deedee's kind of like a type of person. So she she was one of those, like, she's always on public assistance, always on welfare, never works, just literally goes to the hospital, takes her, like, I partially think that's part of the problem, is like that's what gives her life meaning and value, is my kid is sick and I take care of my kid. And like
Exactly.
there's nothing else. There's no career, there's no work, there's no events, conferences, whatever. Like none of that goes on. And so she's like, yeah, I just do this one particular thing. I just take my kid to hospitals constantly back and forth,
Yeah.
apparently. So, you know, like I don't know. I feel like that has to be at least a part of it. Like I said, she's just subsisted on public assistance and child support from Gypsy's dad, Rod. And yeah, I feel like that might be a part of why she did what she did, was just like I got nothing else going on. Like this is all I have. I'm gonna make this kid more important than she needs to be in her own way.
Exactly. That's exactly the disease.
Yeah. And like I wrote down here, like I could actually go into a lot of detail about all the various treatments that Deedee sought for Gypsy, or the various ways that she was like regaled as this hero mom, or Gypsy was regaled as a hero child. But it's like constant. Like it's just like it'd be like 17 hours of like me just talking about like every time something would happen, some weird nonprofit in the middle of nowhere would give them an award for being the bravest child of the week, and then it was just like nonstop. Like she put on a really good act of how to make her seem sick, and also was noted that like when Gypsy didn't act as sick as Deedee wanted, Deedee would like squeeze her hand to be like, no, perk up. It was like a dog, like training a dog, like how to like act in a certain space. So that was another piece of this as well. Is like that's when it jumped the ship from like, maybe she was like concerned to like, no, she was deliberately trying to make this child seem more sick than she was. It got to a point actually where doctors would perform this is crazy. Doctors would perform surgeries on Gypsy for things that like
She didn't have.
that like kind of existed, but like no reputable doctor would do if they thought it existed to like that extent. Like if you have like webbed feet, for example, a doctor's not gonna say, let's chop your leg off so we can fix your webbed feet. But like that's the extent of like she had issues a little bit, a tiny bit. And doctors would buy into it because like I said, like the doctor community was like, just do what this woman wants. Like she'll never leave you alone. Just get her to shut the fuck up and just do what she wants, basically. Which is like really, really gross. And that kind of segues into the Katrina bit, because I do think that when Katrina hit and people from New Orleans were relocated, there was already an inherent I feel bad for them nature to this. Mix that with like being a single mom with a child who has like 17 different types of leukemia, apparently. Like it's just like it compounds everything. Like we already had a giving spirit as a society and community after Katrina hit. Layer that on to the fact that you think this child is incredibly sick, and that's what ends up happening. So that's a piece of this as well that I'm gonna like layer in here. Is Katrina hits, they live in New Orleans and they're relocated to Missouri. So yeah, I wrote down how she would like get awards for just like basically existing from every nonprofit in Missouri. They also
well, I mean, first, if you actually do have a child who has a chronic illness, like it is your life. It is all you can do, you know?
But
like
that's not what happened.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. That's why people like believed her. You know, that's why she like saw that life and like thought it was something that she could do because it.
I see what you're saying. I see. You're saying like if you are that level of like mentally ill, this is a very easy and plausible way to like get that kind of validation from society.
Yes.
So gross.
So gross. Yeah, no, you're literally using your child as like a gross pawn, and the doctors being involved, I think, is wild. Like, I feel like I need to like get second opinions and like think twice before you do things with doctors, but doctors shouldn't. They should know better.
So
like, they should know better.
So they did. So there's one doctor I'll get to here in a moment that literally was like, no, I saw what was going on, and I was like, she does not have muscular dystrophy. Like she can walk. Like she has the musculature and the joints strength and all that stuff to actually walk and be ambulatory on her own. But literally the other doctors in their community, that guy actually called her other doctors. So this is a Missouri doctor. He called her doctors in Louisiana and was like, does this girl have muscular dystrophy? Like, she's like, no, we did all the tests. She does not have it. Like he confirmed all of this, but then everybody was like, in the doctor community was like, this woman's a fucking pain in the ass. Like just leave it alone. Like don't deal with this. Like, which is like,
What? They're supposed to first do no harm. Isn't that their
yeah.
oath?
Yeah,
Bullshit.
like there's a part of it where it's like, okay, so if you're just like, if this is your job and you treat it like your job, I can get why you're like, I'm just gonna check out of it, but it's more than a job when you're a doctor, right? Like you go,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a
yeah.
layer beyond that. So like maybe this guy should have
100%.
had that level of commitment and investment in this, but no, that guy actually comes up a lot later on because he was the only person who went on the record at some point saying, I think this is Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Like that has to be what's going on because
Ugh.
this girl should be able to walk. All the tests
Right.
indicate they should be able to walk. So, but anyways, so going back to like what ends up happening. So they moved to Missouri, and again with Katrina hitting, everybody has this giving spirit. They end
Mm-hmm.
up getting a house for free through Habitat for
Mm-hmm.
Humanity,
Mm-hmm.
with wheelchair ramps and everything. And like those are newsworthy, right? So the media starts paying attention to Deedee
Right.
and Gypsy. It's like they film them walking to their new house or rolling to their
Yeah,
new
yeah,
house, whatever
yeah.
it is. Like it's a
People
whole
love that
thing.
shit. Yeah.
Love that shit. It's like, oh, here's like a single mom with a very, very sick child who, is getting something in life. They would constantly get free stuff. So they would get free
Yeah.
tickets to like Disney, to concerts. She was one of the Make-A-Wish Foundation kids, so
Mm-hmm.
she would get like
Mm-hmm.
whatever she wanted from there. At this point, it seemed as though Dee Dee's expectations of their life experiences were basically entirely dependent on Gypsy being so super sick. Like,
Of
if
course.
Gypsy's
Yeah.
not super sick, then we don't have this dope life. So, one thing to note at this point is Gypsy has no idea how old she actually is.
Oh my God.
Like I mentioned, her mom keeps downplaying her age. So there's one story where her dad, who like tried to be involved, actually, again, like this guy's not a shithead.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
he tried to be
totally.
involved. He wanted to like call her and congratulate her on her 18th birthday, and Dee Dee goes, "This is a quote. She goes, okay, but don't tell her how old she is because she thinks she's 14."
What?
Crazy. So that's where I would say that dad isn't the greatest guy in the world. Is like, come on, you
Yeah.
didn't think
Question that.
something was sus here? Like,
But he
yeah,
thought that she was sick too, right? Like he believed her.
yeah, he did, yeah, he was involved, but not involved to the extent of like, I've been in the ER for the last 8
Right.
weeks. Like it's like, how can you doubt that? How can
Is
you doubt when
muscular
someone's like,
dystrophy, is it genetic at all?
I don't know.
I just wonder if like he could have been like, oh well, maybe our family has it. That's weird. But I don't
Yeah, I
know.
don't know. Well, she said she said that Gypsy had like muscular dystrophy, that she had cancer. So she would shave. I was gonna get to this a little bit later. I'll bring it up
Ugh,
now. She would shave her head.
it's awful.
Yeah, she would shave her head to make her seem like she had cancer. And this I didn't actually write down in the outline. She had her saliva glands removed. And so because of
What?
that, yeah, she had her saliva glands removed. I forgot like who did this, what doctor did this, but like she had that done. And apparently, I don't know what the saliva glands do outside of generating saliva, but apparently it has a pretty dramatic impact on the health and longevity of her teeth. So her teeth literally all fell out because after she had her saliva. So she looked, dude, imagine this. You're looking like a 14-year-old girl, bald
Yeah,
head.
when you lose your teeth, you lose your face.
Yeah, bald head, no teeth. It's just gum staring at you, and it's like, of course she has leukemia. Of course she has whatever disease the mom says, right? Like it's
Did
so.
she do that on purpose? Her teeth would fall out?
She didn't do it on purpose because the teeth would fall out. What I read was that she would apparently Gypsy would like drool, which like I don't totally understand, but apparently Gypsy
Mm-hmm.
would drool and the mom was like over it, and for some reason or somehow she convinced the doctor to remove her saliva glands. So I'm like, that has to be that had to be like a procedure done in the Philippines or something. Like it can't be like a
That's so serious of a
yeah
thing.
yeah
Oh my God.
yeah. No, she was horribly abused. Like that's the thing that's like that precedes every discussion of what ends up happening. Didi's like she was a monster. Like
I wonder, are you going to talk more about Munchausen syndrome by proxy?
no, I'm. You know what? I
'Cause
probably should have done a bunch of research on that. But like, I got to the point where I like was like, I'm calling this the wrong thing, and that's basically it.
So I wonder, I mean, I feel like, well, most psychology is like new, in the past like 100 years or 200 years or whatever.
Yeah.
I wonder how many times this has happened like in the history of the world where like a parent has been like I need help because I have this child, whatever, or like had a little bit of attention and then like continue to do it. Or like maybe they were like, oh, my baby died and I got a ton of attention, so they just like did it again, stuff like that. I wonder.
I
I'm sure it's
mean,
happened before
this
for all
feels
time.
like an extreme version of that. Like,
It is, but like, I don't know, I feel like it's in the news every couple years, someone kills their kid.
yeah, I can believe that. Having surgery, like getting to the point where you do surgery and stuff is like kind of intense, but
Oh yeah, and that's 100% on the doctors. That's 100% on the doctors.
100%. Yeah, totally
Yeah,
agree. Like,
yeah.
I don't know how you convince a doctor to take the fucking saliva glands out of a child, but that's crazy. I mean, that was
Yeah.
the reason why she lost her entire teeth. Again, I don't know what the dynamic is. I don't know why saliva glands, what that has to do with like teeth longevity, but that
Whatever.
happened.
Yeah.
So, and you see the pictures. If you look at pictures of her, you can see she has
I
no
want to look
teeth.
her up.
Like,
Poor
yeah,
girl.
yeah, it was awful. Yeah, like I was like, I wrote here, I was like, she gave birth to a perfect, healthy baby and turned her into like this crazy disabled person through this treatment. It's like it's insane to how you can do that to someone. Yeah. Yeah, and there was this one physician in Missouri who was like ran blood tests on her, was like her blood tests were all normal. We did ran tests on her standing up and her ambulatory skills and they're normal. She's normal. Like there's nothing wrong with her mobility whatsoever. And that was the point when like everybody was like she called her the doctor in Louisiana, was like, "Yep, everything's normal." And other doctors were like, "Stop it. Like just drop it. Like just drop the topic. This woman's a fucking pain in the ass. Like she'll never leave you alone if you don't drop this." And he just dropped it. Which like again, I'm of two minds of it. As a professional, I'm like, yeah, it's not my fight to win, but it's like as a doctor, isn't it kind of your fight to win? I don't know.
It's 100% their fight to win. That's their
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
And they took on that responsibility when they became a fucking doctor. Like you can have my job, but no one's gonna die if I don't do my job. But if
Yeah.
you have a job where someone's gonna die if you don't do it, then you need to fucking do it.
As
You know?
fame You know what though, Taylor, as famous podcasters, don't you think that we save like one suicide a week by being awesome and
Dozens
funny?
of lives have been saved by listening to this.
There you go.
Dozens. I mean, just like regular lives. Like people were like, "What is my purpose?" And listen to this, and they're like, "Now I have a purpose." I'm not
It's
sure how or
a
why.
the crown we wear is heavier than you think, I think.
For all five of you,
Stop downplaying it.
bless us, bless you five.
No. We're blown up. We're gonna be famous. So going back to the story, Gypsy eventually reached the age where she started having an interest in boys and wanting to do things other than just basically pretending to be an invalid her entire time. And she ended
Like
up
how?
actually go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I don't think to yell about. You say reached the age, like she doesn't even know how old she is. So like she's
No, but I
probably
think
like,
it happens, right? Like it's like
no, I
I
know,
remember
but
when I
like,
started liking girls, like I didn't know how old. I don't remember how old I was. It was just like one day you wake up and like, oh wow, like that's cool.
no, what I'm thinking is like, how long was she going to pretend she was a teenager? Was she gonna like keep moving and like pushing it back until she was like 30?
Yeah,
What was the
she actually faked her
long
birth
game?
certificate. Actually, like she
Yeah.
went over the top. Like she literally went to the extent of faking her birth certificate to try and make her seem younger. That actually comes up here in a minute. Like the fact
Baby.
that she did that. Like, yeah, I don't know what the game plan was. It feels like there's not a lot of strategy here, but it didn't work. Like no
Yeah.
matter what it was. But actually, Gypsy seems kind of cool. Like this is the part where it's like not so sinister as like she gets into comics and she goes to comic cons and she meets guys there and like does all this stuff, and that's actually where it goes sideways. Her mom finds out that she's at this like hotel room with this guy at a comic con, and she shows up and she brings a forged birth certificate that I think said she was like 15 or 14 or something along those lines, and just shoved in this guy's face saying like, hey, you ever contact her again and you're going to jail for the rest of your life. Like this is going to be statutory rape situation. Like it was fake. Like she was 18, like she was an adult, and the mom faked this birth certificate and
Wow.
dragged her back home. So that was an ongoing thesis here, is like her finding slivers of escape and then being drugged back to this hellish existence.
Mm-hmm.
It was after this situation that Gypsy meets the other, I'm going to call protagonist of the
Mm-hmm.
story, who's a guy named Nicholas Gojan. They met online and they grew rather close with one another, close enough to where the two started discussing getting married at one point, and they would eventually meet in person and kick off like a sexual relationship between the two of them. apparently Gypsy was like very self-aware of what was going on in this situation. So like she told Nicholas what was happening with the mom.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when they started kind of plotting out how to just get Deedee out of the equation, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
So part of this was we escape. The other part was we kill her. So like it was like a balancing of two ideas, and the idea was that we got to go with that we kill her situation because that's the only way to be truly free of this woman.
Mm-hmm.
Which like I get. I also want to kill her. I never met this woman in my life. I would gladly hold her head underwater until she stopped breathing. Like she sounds like the worst human. Like
I mean, at the very least, she should be in jail. Like, she should not have a child. No,
Taylor,
at the very least, she should
admit
have
she
jail.
should be dead. Admit
No,
you
I
want her
don't know.
dead.
I agree with you. I think she we're better off without her. You know, she's a terrible human being. I know this is a pattern for you, but no, I think at the very least, she should not have that child. Like, she should not be allowed to
So
continue to do what she does.
gross.
Yeah.
So gross. So by this point, Gypsy is like obviously fully aware that there's a life outside of what she's been experiencing. She's down with this like
I mean, good for her. Thank God for the
Yeah.
internet sometimes.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
Sometimes fuck the internet, but sometimes good job, internet.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And you know, at this point, she'd been because she understand. I mean, I know she doesn't know how old she is, but you get that like you don't vibe with like I know I don't vibe with like a 15-year-old. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't need to. You don't have to tell me I'm 38. Like I know I don't. There's a difference there, right? And so she understood that things weren't exactly what they were, and she kind of evolved beyond it. So I will say this. I love what Nicholas ended up doing to Deedee. I think it's awesome. Like, I want to make Christmas cards with him stabbing her to death and send it to all my friends and family. But I also think it's a little fucked up because it's kind of like you don't even know this woman. And
Yeah,
this girl really.
Is his life ruined essentially?
Yeah, yeah. Life in prison, first degree murder. Like he's done. He's done for. But it's like I love what he did, but I'm also like, man, you could also just tell her like, hey, let's like go to Cancun. You know, like
It like wasn't it wasn't his responsibility or job to do that. But like, because so many people failed her. I feel like.
yeah, all the doctors,
Mhm.
psychologists, therapists. It's funny you said that because again, like the dad and the stepmom who was being poisoned consistently, when all this ends up happening, they were like, yeah, she deserved it. Like literally her dad and her stepmom were like, we're glad that she's dead. She deserved this.
I mean,
Crazy.
I have like family members who are annoying, but like I don't have anyone like deeply, deeply toxic. Like
Yeah.
that's a whole different thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this all escalates in June of 2015. Gypsy and Nicholas start kind of putting their plan of how to extricate themselves under Deedee's grip in action. Gypsy basically lets Nicholas in the house while Deedee is asleep. She hands him a knife. She hands him gloves. She hands him duct tape. Like it was like a whole plan. And the idea was for Nicholas to kill Deedee. Like that's the thing that's like interesting is like you go from this like extreme of like I'm a goo goo gaga baby to like let's fucking kill the bitch. Like it's just so crazy how
Yeah.
that flip happens. But I can imagine the rage has to be over the top. I don't know what it's like. My parents did not treat me like I was an invalid, fucking half my age,
Yeah.
most of my life. But like I can imagine her like the rage has to be so real that makes you like think that way. But so Nicholas goes in the house, and yeah, the whole plan was Nicholas, you do this. You go, you kill Deedee, and yeah, like it was a great outcome for everybody in the world. Nicholas ends up stabbing her 17 times in her bedroom until she dies, which is fucking awesome. Like kudos to him. I don't want to be friends with him. I don't want to have like a barbecue with him, but like
I'm gonna say again, Nicholas, it's not a happy ending for him.
totally not a happy ending for him. But he's also fucked up because who would do that?
That's true. Right.
So
not everyone would just be like, yeah, totally.
it's like the whole the joke that Juan laughed at that one time. You just trip over fucking scumbags every now and then.
Yeah.
Like, it's like how this guy's just like randomly. I've met a lot of women, and any number of them could have asked me to kill somebody. I wouldn't have done it. Like it's so over the top extreme.
That's true.
But this happens, and then shortly afterwards, I mean, they spend a few days in hotels, and then they make their way up to where Nicholas lives, up in Wisconsin. During this time, apparently Gypsy was logged into Deedee's Facebook account and would post comments to, like, as her, and one of them was "the bitch is dead." Like, it's just like, you're the worst criminal in the
weird.
world. You're the worst criminal that's ever existed. And she would just post this stuff, and so people started being like, "What's going on?" Like, because think about it, everybody who knows him is like this sweet family of this invalid child, and like now it's like, this bitch is dead. It's like, what? Like, where the fuck
Right.
did
Like,
that
who would
come
even
from?
say those words?
Who would say that anyways? Much less like a child who's
Mhm.
like an invalid at 12 years old. So friends and neighbors started getting concerned. They called the police. Police ended up searching the house, and they found Deedee's body. Yeah, I wrote down how everybody, when this happened, was so concerned for Gypsy, because everybody in the town was like, this poor kid has no options. Like, whoever, the fact that she's not here and the fact that her mom is dead means that she is probably on her way to dying soon as well, because she doesn't have her medicine, her air tanks were at home, her wheelchairs. Like, how
Did
is
she
this
get
kid gonna?
kidnapped?
Yeah,
Yeah.
all of it.
Oh, totally.
And so everybody's mostly just concerned about the kid. One of Gypsy's friends who was in town and knew about Nicholas mentioned that they were like kind of a thing, and police started looking into him. And they reached out to Facebook and asked Facebook to run IP traces on Deedee's Facebook account, and they ran the traces because the posts were so unusual that like it obviously drew red flags.
Mhm.
And they were like, these are all originating from Wisconsin, and they knew that she was seeing a guy from Wisconsin, so they're like, oh, this is Gypsy, and they ended up going to Wisconsin. There they ended up arresting them, and it was obvious. Like, these were not master criminals. They were kids. They were scared kids. I know the crime sounds brutal, but it's like, they were just stupid kids. Like, you know, Nicholas is a kid. Gypsy was like more than a kid. Like, I don't even know how to explain. Like, she was like so stunted in her growth and her development. Like, so they immediately caved and admitted what they ended up doing. Everybody admits that the plan was for Nicholas to go in the house. It was unanimous. Like, both Nicholas and Gypsy were like, yep, this was the plan. Like, they all came together on that piece of it. And what I found really interesting about this case was that the prosecution could have pursued the death penalty. So Missouri has the death penalty as an option, and this was going to be a first-degree murder charge. They ended up deciding that they're not going to pursue. So like, this is so weird. This is so beyond the pale of anything we've ever seen that like, we can't do this. And so they thought it would be like an abnormal degree of punishment to pursue the death penalty, so they didn't. Regardless, Nicholas was ultimately found guilty, as I mentioned earlier, and he got life in prison, which, like, again, thank you, Nicholas, for murdering this woman. The world is better for you having done it. And also, just like, dude, you could have just gone on to the next match on Tinder. Like, you didn't. The fact that you
100%.
wanted to do this is like a little bit weird. So
you're not wrong.
I was writing, if I met a girl on Bumble tomorrow who said kill my mom, I'd be like, yeah, maybe we should think about this a little bit.
Yeah, hopefully you would not do it. How old was he when he did it?
I don't know. I don't know what is.
I don't know if you've. I mean, you do dumb things when you're young, but I also never killed anybody, so it doesn't count as my dumb things.
You've never killed anyone?
No, never.
So
then the plan is to not. Yeah.
So the murder was in 2015. How old is Nicholas? He's 33 now. So in 2015, how many years ago was that? That was 8 years ago? Yeah, 8 years ago. So he's 33 now, so he would have been 25.
All right.
I mean, that's old enough to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he was like 15, I'd be like, well, blah, blah, blah. I mean, again, it's complicated because, like, yes, she needed to go, but also no, you should not. Like, you should leave it to other people. You should never be the person who does it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So, Nicholas ends up getting life in prison, which, like, sucks again. Gypsy got off pretty light. She ended up getting a second-degree murder charge and 10 years in prison. And one of the things that Gypsy said, I read this quote while she was incarcerated. She said, "I feel like I'm more free in prison than living with my mom, because now I'm allowed to just live as a normal woman." Like she
let her just like walk around.
Dude, like she literally feels like prison is like freedom for her. Like, that's so.
And like,
so
there was
crazy.
nothing in her experience that would make her feel like there was somewhere for her to go, because like there were adults around her all the fucking time and no one did anything.
Yeah.
You know, whether or not they were like afraid of Deedee or believed Deedee or like didn't want to intrude or like just wanted to not deal with her, like whatever. But like dozens of capable adults were around her and did not help
Yeah.
her. Didn't see
Yeah.
it, didn't help her. She couldn't have big whatever.
I think
So
I don't think Gypsy should have gotten any jail time. And I don't think Nicholas should have either, but I also don't want Nicholas to be my neighbor because if I sneeze the wrong way, he might fucking kill me too. Like he just seems really easygoing with the stabbing people to death piece, but like
yeah.
it's just like as a society we should decide who we put into a forest and we all hunt. And Deedee was one of those people that should have been like the Running Man that we just put into a forest and we all just pursue and try and kill.
That is
And
not the moral of the Running Man. Just I want to
did I get the wrong
FYI.
movie?
Yes. No,
Which was
no,
the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
that is the Running Man. But I'm saying that the moral of the Running Man is not we should put someone out and everyone should hunt them together. The moral of that is bad.
In this case, it's not that bad. Like in this case, can we make a pass for this case?
I actually just read the Running Man
Lobster
for the
Boy,
first time.
this case, and that other guy that I talked about. Those three can go into the Running Man.
This is becoming a pattern for you.
So yeah, Gypsy ends up getting 10 years on second-degree charges. And you know what's funny is like she actually ended up getting married last year. So in June of 2022, she ended up getting married to some random guy. So the guy that killed the mom, man, this is what guys, men, especially younger men, if you're listening to me, never do a thing for women that could impact your life because it will like they will move on and you will be stuck with it. This guy killed a woman for the girl he loved and that he's in jail for the rest of his life and she's married to someone else. Like just don't do it. Just don't do it. You disagree with me.
I don't know. I just feel like you're being a little toxic masculinity right there because like you can do stuff for other people, but don't break the law for someone. How's that?
Yeah,
Unless,
that's a good middle
Yeah.
that's good middle ground.
Yeah.
That's not toxic masculinity. That's more like just like
I don't know, but I feel like
guy's
you're
gonna
like, oh, for
die
like
in jail.
validation and blah blah blah. Yeah, yes, his life is ruined. A lot of lives are ruined, but not Gypsy's. Her life is better.
But that's my point is that his life is ruined.
I know.
And her life isn't.
I know.
But he did it for her. So like
Well, I'm saying just like think twice. I like don't say never do something for someone.
don't do that's extreme. Not never. But like if it gets to the point when a girl is handing you a knife at midnight as she unlocks a door to her mom's bedroom,
Yes.
think twice. Just think she will marry another man and you will be in jail for the rest of your life. Like that's what I'm saying.
It's 100% true. Yes.
So yeah, that's basically how the story ends. She's still in jail. Obviously, he's in jail for the rest of his life. Like he's not going to get out anytime soon. This happened in 2015. So in theory, she will have served her entire sentence and be released in about 2 years. She might get off a little bit early. She might be getting off like in the next year. But that's Gypsy's story. And like I said, I definitely am. The world is a better place because Deedee is dead. And that's hard to say, but I truly think that.
Yeah, she just did a lot of bad things.
Awful human. Built nonprofits out of God knows how much money. Built hospitals.
Oh, totally. I forgot about that too. Yeah, where could have gone to help someone else.
Dude took a home out of Habitat for Humanity, which could have gone to like somebody who actually needed a home. Like she was a scumbag. Like she was just garbage wrapped in skin, like through and through. But anyways, she's dead. Thank God. Thanks, Nicholas.
Hope you're listening.
Yeah, if you're listening, write to us. Tell our agent.
Oh my gosh, so funny. So funny.
That is my story. And I wish I had, Taylor, because you mentioned it. Like, I wish I had looked it up because at the very end of this, I was like, the ultimate cause of Deedee's behavior is, and then I looked it up, and it's Munchausen syndrome by proxy, which I earlier called Munchausen proxy by whatever. But I didn't go into the weeds of researching what it actually was or how many instances of it there was. But that would be that could be an interesting second part of this.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot more.
So